I wanted those books that I'm reading to have a bigger impact, and I wanted them to be worth it. Hey, hi, good morning. It's day 48 of our trip. My name is Stephanie, and this is my channel where I'm filming a series of little mini vlogs about my experience traveling and working abroad for a year. The thing I wanted to talk about was how my reading has changed because of the trip that we're on right now. And I wanted to discuss the new way that I'm tracking my reading. I love talking about books, and because so many people that are also book nerds, a big part of what they like to do while they travel, especially when they're in a beachy place like we are right now, is read. Everyone loves a good beach read. People that love to read like I do just often really want to spend a lot of their time traveling reading, to relax, to enjoy, to do something they don't get to do as much of in their normal life. Now, we are sort of just having our normal life while we travel, so it's a little bit different for me. But that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this as a book lover and also someone who's doing this, digital nomad traveling situation. I will say that since we've started this trip, I am reading a lot less. I'm reading a lot less books than I typically do. This is kind of intentional, and part of that is because of the new way that I'm tracking my reading. But the other part of it is just that our lifestyle and how our day-to-day activities go, normally I just had a lot more time to read and listen to audiobooks in my life back in San Francisco. I was doing a lot more like commuting. I had a lot more time where I was walking around or whatever, and I had earbuds in while I was doing that. Now, because we're doing plenty of activities and it's not like we're not walking around, but often I am with Bran or I was with friends. I have a lot less time where I'm just sitting around or commuting and listening to something. That's just not happening as much. The other thing that's been affecting this is I often have listened to a lot of books while I'm working as well, but a lot of the work I've been doing more recently has had a lot of writing, or I've been editing these videos, and those are both things that I can't really listen to an audiobook while I do that, Those are just not multitasking activities that go together. The amount of books I've been able to listen to while I'm doing design work is a lot less than normal. So for example, if I'm like photoshopping something or fixing something, or let's say I'm making a set of icons, that's pretty easy to listen to an audiobook while I do it. But if I'm trying to write and fix a presentation, and I can't really listen to an audiobook and figure out how to best explain information at the same time. That's another reason that the amount of things I've been reading has gone down a lot. So I've been an active Goodreads user for several years now. It's easily one of the better social media apps out there. It's just way less toxic. And I like seeing what my friends are reading. That's always really fun. The last few years, I have always had a reading challenge. It's always been at least 100 books or more. And I came to the conclusion with my end of the year reading wrap up last year that I needed to massively lower the amount of books I was trying to push myself to read per year. Now, if I do read 100 books this year, I'm not gonna be mad about that, but I was realizing in my quest to read 100 books or more, I wasn't really digesting or appreciating all of these books to their full potential, and it was pushing me to finish books that I didn't really like that much, just to kind of tick another one off. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I really wanted to appreciate each book, really take my time with it, and I wanted it to have an impact or have a bigger impact than it did before. So this year, I massively lowered my reading goal on Goodreads to I think 30 books or something like that. And the other thing I've been doing, which I've really been loving, and I really think it's working very, very well, is I essentially created for myself basically a reading diary. I'm sure this isn't anything revolutionary, but on Notion, I basically just have a monthly reading sheet, and I have all the days of the month in there. And then every single day that I read, if I have something of interest, either a quote I like from the book or an idea that I've had, or just my impression about something that I wanted to write down, it doesn't have to be a profound thought. It can just be like, I really like this is fun. I'll just write it in my little reading journal. So some days don't have any notes, like if I didn't read or if I didn't find anything that interesting. But some days have a lot where I was reading a lot of books, potentially either getting through a lot of one book or switching back and forth, and I'll just kind of throw in things that I like or that I'm taking away or interesting quotes. The fact that I'm sort of stopping and making notes as I read, it's really slowing me down, which is a good and a bad thing. I am getting a lot more out of what I'm reading, but it does mean I'm reading less. And this is kind of what I was hoping for, right? So I wanted those books that I'm reading to have a bigger impact, and I wanted them to be worth it. And if I'm gonna sit down and take notes on things that I'm reading, if I'm not really loving the book that much, just okay, that's not really worth sinking in all that time for. I haven't run into a book that I've wanted to shelve yet so far, but I think that this new system is really gonna help me walk away from books that are just not worth my time and put my real energy into thinking about and appreciating the books that are a little meatier, like have a lot more going on. Not that I won't spend time with purely fun books that aren't that deep. I love those. Those are always a good time for me too. Just overall, I think going to incentivize me to spend more time with the books that are fun and not worry so much about the amount of books that I'm reading, because with this note system, I can feel really accomplished if I have a note every single day, even if it's just something small that's like, I really liked this character, or I thought this phrasing was really nice. Now, I'm not putting pressure on myself to read every single day, but I usually end up reading even for a few minutes every single day, just while I'm, waiting for a food or whatever. Like I end up opening my phone and just reading through something for a little bit. And most days of the week, I have a reading note. So I still feel really accomplished with my reading, even though I'm reading less books. I've been doing this new reading tracking method for January, February, and March. And almost every day I have a note of some kind that says what I was reading and what I thought about it. And that feels very satisfying, and it really feels like I am accomplishing what I want to get out of spending my time reading. The big reason I wanted to do this was I was often writing my little Goodreads review. I sometimes would come away from it only kind of remembering the back part of the book or the end, and I couldn't really remember other things I'd maybe liked at the beginning, especially if it had taken me a while to get through the book to begin with. This is a way for me to keep some of my thoughts fresh from the beginning of the book and to really just see how I'm feeling throughout and just have those more instant reactions recorded. Overall, I really like this new method. It's totally working, and I'm curious to see how I'll feel about it in another few months after I've done like 6 months or so of this. There'll be some times on this trip where I'm very busy with work and sometimes when I'm not. So I'm curious how my reading might fluctuate throughout our entire journey. And I'm also curious how the specific locations that I'm in might inspire me to read more or less of like certain other categories. I do hope to read more in the next few months. I would like to finish some of the bigger, longer books that I have on my plate as well. I hope to read a little bit more, but I don't want to read too much more because I want to make sure I'm really still getting everything out of it. Let me know what you like to read while you're traveling, and if you have any book recommendations for me, because I'm always looking to increase that very long list of to-read books. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening, and I will check in with you tomorrow. Goodbye.